Okay, so it's Sunday again, and once more we have a game lined up. It's my Beastmen again, so I stick them together even more now. They've even got their heads on this time, so that's looking pretty well. No proxies, which was nice, apart from, well, these guys are Ungor Raiders, even though they've got spears and stuff, but they are Ungor, so that's close enough. Yeah, so this is my army, this size, so I decided to roll out his Skaven. Well, I'm talking through this new unit. But it's 3,000 points. We rolled for the mission and we got battle line, so we're happy to accept that. So I got the +1, so I'm still to roll for who goes first, but I'll talk you through my deployment. So I have a Tuskor Chariot, Gorgon, 40 Gore with the BSB. It's what's known as the 206 build. Anyone who plays Beastmen probably know what that means. We've got 5 Harpies, 30 Bestigor, full command. These guys also have full command. 6 Ungor Raiders with 3 level 1 Brace Shaman. One of Beast, one of Beast and 2 of Shadow. 2 Shadow guys have got the signature. The Beast has the signature. Then we've got 30 Gore, full command, additional hand weapons. Same with these guys, additional hand weapons. With the Great Brace Shaman, and he's got Law of Beasts, and he has Wiston's Wild Form, Curse of Anrahir, Transformation of Kadan, and the Amber Spear. Then we have 7 Minotaurs, with additional hand weapons, and I think they have additional hand weapons. I can never remember if I bought that. I'll check in a minute. And there's also the Doom Ball, the 3-3-3 build, which seems pretty good. Got 5 Harpies and then 6 more Ungor Raiders, just as a drop, just to sort of weed out his stuff. I had 10 drops and he only had 7, so I've got some matchups I want really. Well, as good as I can get with Beastmen, but so yeah, so that's my army, and I'll hand you over to Si now, see what he's got.
Yeah, I decided to get my Skaven out after a while. I was quite inspired to put together this unit, in fact, in front of us, which I did after last week's game. There was some pretty quick painting. You have to excuse the proxied back rank, which are actually going to be Packmasters, although obviously that is definitely Squeal, as yet unpainted. I need to convert up some and buy some more. But yeah, basically I have a Doom Wheel, then 50 Giant Rats with 10 Packmasters, one of which is upgraded to be Squeal Gnawtooth. I'm not sure whether 10 is optimal. It seems sensible to have quite a few, as obviously Squeal is going to need some protection because he is a little bit wimpy being a Skaven. And for his special rule, I rolled poisoned attacks, so that's rather nice. Then I have a unit of 35 Plague Monks with a Plague Priest on a Plague Furnace, Hell Pit, which is a bit shonkily deployed, and when I zoom out you'll be able to see why. Just a unit of 50 Slaves. This will be the well, I suppose the speed bump for this, for at least the first turn. Then I have a unit of 50 Queek Storm Vermin, led by Queek himself on the corner there. There is also a Warlord who gave out Skaven Brute at the start of the game, and for that I rolled Rabid. So they have Frenzy and but like +2 attack Frenzy. And then in there is also my BSB. Then I have just a small unit of 20 Clan Rats with my Grey Seer. Then there's a couple of Rattling Guns here. Again, a bit iffily deployed, but I'll show you why. And a Lone Warlock Engineer toting something, although it isn't actually Doom Rocket, because that's somewhere else. That's be toting something else. The main reason is as you can see, I've filled the battlefield up, as I've got rather a lot of hordes. So yeah, there's a little bit of problem with deployment. So yes, we shall have to think about that one. And at some point, I will be working on getting myself a horde of rat ogres, just for laughs. Because led by Squeal, a horde of rat ogres would be pretty nasty, especially if they got regen. So, or the extra attack. So that would be another one to try. So yeah. With that, I get the +1, so yeah, we will see you at the end of whoever gets the first turn. Okay, I won the first turn with my +1, I rolled a 6. So I basically, well, first off, there were no charges obviously, so this just ploughed into the side of the Skaven slaves, killing 5. Then everyone else moved up. The bunker went into the building. I moved my Warlock Engineer out. Then in the magic phase, I rolled 7, a 6 and a 1 unfortunately, and got a channel. So I managed to cast Blessed with Filth on the Storm Vermin. Then I tried to Skitter Leap him, but Ollie rather wisely dispelled it. And then I cast Warp Lightning, or tried to cast Warp Lightning with my caster, Warlock, on the Gorgon, and Ollie also dispelled it, as I rolled pretty low. And with that was that. There was the only shooting was from the Doom Rocket. We're doing it how it's supposed to be in 7th edition with the guesses for the Doom Rocket. So I guessed 17, which is pretty obvious when a pair of us were on the line, and I moved up 10, and each one of his bases is an inch wide. So, you know, that's pretty much common sense. So I guessed 17, decided to roll 6 dice, and actually for once rolled quite above average, rolled 24, and actually plonked right in between at the back of his stuff, so I didn't actually get anything. So yeah, with that, I then tried to restrain from shooting my own troops, which I did, and that was the end of my shooting. So now we're going to go on to well, it's now on to Beastmen turn 1.
Okay, so it's the end of Beastmen turn 1, pretty quick turn. So I gunned the, actually, first up I attempted to charge the Minotaurs into the Doom Wheel, only needing a 6, so of course I rolled a 5, so they failed their charge. These guys stayed where they were, the Harpies moved up a bit, just so they can leap out later. Chariot moved up, he's just out of line of sight of these guys. The Gorgon gunned it up 14, just to threaten the flank. Obviously that rattling gun's just going to shoot him up. These guys moved up just to be closer to the Doom Wheel, so hopefully they can take the lightning shots instead of the Minotaurs. These guys moved up to get in the way of the Plague Monks, so didn't fancy, well, it was quite a long charge, but he could have potentially made it into the flank of these. That would have ruined them, so decided to get rid of some chaff straight away. Then in the magic phase, I rolled an ideal one really. I rolled double 2, so I got 2, I got 2. He got no channels, I got 1 channel, and also had 4 wizards next to the Herdstone, so I had 9 dice. And I managed to cast Whiston's Wildfall, which silent through, cast Mystify Miasma to reduce the movement of this thing. I managed to reduce it by 2d6, so it's only moving 1d6 now. So I let that through. And then I cast Amber Spear, which I attempted to dispel, but unfortunately failed. And I managed to do 2 wounds to this, and it didn't go out of control, so it's hurting. But it's probably the longest a Doom Wheel's lived, so it's going into the second turn now. And that was the end of my turn 1, so that was it.
Okay, it's the end of Skaven turn 2. Everyone moved up. The greatly slowed Doom Wheel edged forward 4 inches. I should say, sorry, before we get to that, they charged the the Harpies, who elected to hold. Then the Doom Wheel moved up 4. The Giant Rat Horde moved into support. The Skaven Slaves, having been chewed a little bit by this guy, because obviously he's way out of position, moved up right into the face of the Gore Horde, or the Gore unit. And then the Storm Vermin also advanced nice and far up, taking 2 wounds because of the Rabid Frenzy. So yeah, with that, we went to Magic, where I got 10 dice to Ollie's 5. Then I cast Blessed with Filth on those guys. Ollie actually dispelled it this time. Pretty massive roll. Then he dispelled pretty much everything else, actually. So I didn't get anything else. So yeah, with that, we went on to shooting. I managed to put 2 wounds on the Gorgon with my... that's it, yeah, that was the spell I managed to cast Wither. I managed Toughness by 1. So I put 2 wounds on the Gorgon, which was a bit disappointing. And then this lone rat launched his brass orb. He got a hit, but Ollie passed his save. Sorry, his initiative test, 50-50. So that was it, really. I managed to hold off, I failed to hold off, but only rolled strength 4. Rolled 3 dice, and yeah, got 2 2s and 1, so even failed to wound. So I lost no rats. So yeah, okay, not a great turn, but everyone's now sort of set up, ready for action. So I reckon this turn we'll see some combat with Ollie's supposed aggressive tactics of not moving. But thankfully, I've saved him the hassle to do so. So all I need him to do is fail some unfailable charges, and it'll be great.
I'm pretty sure I can fail that. No, I can't.
So yeah, we will see now at the ends. I should have said, I absolutely destroyed the Harpies in close combat and overrun 4 inches. So yeah, it's now on for Beastmen turn 2.
Okay, it's the end of Beastmen turn 2, and a pretty bloody turn. I got into it and started charging stuff. Unfortunately, these guys failed their frenzy test, which was really annoying, because I was going to charge the Doom Bull out into the flank of those Plague Monks and tear them up. But unfortunately, they failed their frenzy, and because the BSB was over there, they charged into the Doom Wheel. These guys moved back, these guys charged into the Slaves, these guys charged into the Storm Vermin, so did the Chariot. This guy charged into the Rattling Gun, which elected to flee, so redirected into his bunker, which obviously has no one in it. And they failed the terror test and started running as well. So that was it for charges. Movement-wise, I moved these to the side, I moved these slightly back. The Harpies moved out to redirect the Plague Monks. These guys just move around in case they need some more chaff. That was it for movement. Then in the magic phase, I attempted to cast I got 8 dice, 6 to side, 8 to me. Obviously bumping up to 12. Cast a Melkos, which I failed to cast on one of the level 1s. Cast another Melkos, so I dispelled it. Cast a Wiston's Wild Form, so I let it through. Cast a Curse of Anra here, so I dispelled it. Then cast another Wiston's Wild Form, so I scrolled it. So yeah. So it would have been nice to get some more buffs on those other than 1 Wiston's, but it didn't happen, so it's unfortunate. And that was it for magic. Then the shooting phase, this guy shot at the Plague Monks, killed 1 of them, which was absolute victory. Then in close combat, the Minosaurs, who I remember the impact hits because Sai reminded me, killed the Doom Wheel outright with just those, which was nice. then just overrun 3. This combat, I killed his Warlock Engineer and some slaves, won the combat, but he held on Steadfast 10 with a reroll. Yeah, because that's balanced. But yeah, I mean, that's fair enough. At least they got 1 unit of slaves as opposed to the usual 200, so happy with that. Yeah, like I said, and then in this combat, it didn't go so well. So, unfortunately, because of I failed to milk off him, he went before me. Quick actually issued a challenge. I accepted my foe renderer, and then he got butchered. Sorry, I ran out of storage space there. Yeah, so the BSB was protected. So he attacked first, and unfortunately killed 21 of my guys. Then I attacked him back, killed 14 of his, and put a wound on his BSB. That's 1 wound after dumping 1,000,000 attacks on him, which is really unfortunate. He just kept making those armour saves. So obviously I lost the combat, failed to roll Snake Eyes, fled, lost the BSB and the standard, reducing that unit simply by 40%, which is still a terrifying unit to fight. The chariot fled off this way. Obviously because they're frenzied they had to pursue, so that's why they're there. And that was pretty much it for close combat. So that's the end of my turn 2. So that's quite an eventful game.
Okay, it's the end of a bit of disappointing Skaven turn 3. Everyone basically charged in, got in. Most notably was my Storm Vermin chasing the gore off the battlefield. Unfortunately, they followed suit, so they'll be coming on there, which is quite a bit annoying because that might be exceptionally problematic now. So yeah, then pretty much the Skaven over here couldn't reform without their strength in numbers because they were scarpering. I was testing on leadership of 6, and well, I rolled a double 6 anyway, and they fell off the battlefield. Magic. Well, I finally got Rivoli's scroll. I tried to give the giant rats, who also charged in against the Minotaurs, I tried to give them extra poison, so they were being poisoned on a 5-up. But unfortunately, that wasn't to be, and yeah, magic phase was a bit of a blowout, unfortunately. Then came close combat. The slaves unfortunately blew up because without the general's leadership, I had no way of like, well, plus he'd broken my steadfast. Had no real way of getting in. Then over here, as expected, I butchered the harpies and then overran. However, as per usual, I overran just enough to give Ollie the perfect flank charge.
I mean, that couldn't be any better, could it really?
No. So, essentially what I did was I fought that combat first in order to make him reform. And then Ollie just reformed thinking that he was going to get a flank anyway, and yeah, I overran like a massive 9 inches.
No, it's supposed to be fair, you are unbreakable, so it's not like you're going to just lose that unit.
I know, but unfortunately that unit is pretty much screwed, because with that, there's just not enough attacks now to be able to do anything.
I'm thinking if I move up within an inch of that, then you can't reform to face me.
Yeah, well, you only need to win the combat by enough anyway, because you're in my flank. You've broken my rank bonus, which means my leadership is 6.
Yeah, but you're unbreakable.
I know, but I still have to test on a modified leadership to reform. So as long as you win the combat area around. But yeah, that's pretty much the guarantor of the situation. So yeah, that's basically been pretty screwed. And then to top it off, over here, yeah, we realised that this unit is actually worthless in this current game, because you can choose whether you attack handlers, the handlers, or the rats. And naturally, you aren't going to be stupid and attack the rats, are you? So this whole squeal Gnawtooth giving everyone awesome combat buffs is worthless. I might as well just take a unit of Storm Vermin, and yeah. So I won't be ever taking those ever again. So bit of a bugger. I spent a couple of days putting that all together, making them look nice, and yeah, unfortunately they're useless.
You've got a million rat darts now.
Yeah, I've got like 10 rat darts now that I can do. But yeah, that's a bit disappointing really, because that unit is now pointless. So yeah, I don't really know what to do about that. So yeah, that's my big problem, because obviously now with those guys gone, they're probably they're gonna break. They're gonna carry on fleeing. They're gonna be off the board. Then by the time these guys get anywhere near, they'll be chaffed to hell. The hell pit is now too little, too late. So yeah, I think the writing's on the wall for the Skaven now, which is it's quite unfortunate, and it is literally down to the fact. Well, A, an overrun screwed me again, and B, well, to be fair, the overrun was always happening anyway.
Yeah, I think ultimately this overrun was what screwed you.
Yeah.
Because now keep those out of the game, can't you?
Yeah, that was just getting like a 15-inch charge when I needed a 7-inch charge. So yeah, that was harsh, but yeah, we'll
either way, even if you moved a little bit, I could have moved one of these guys out in front of you. And then he would have been blocking your... Well, I suppose you could have just turned around, but he wouldn't be facing anything anyway.
Yeah.
It's a tricky one.
Yeah, it's a bit of a pain. So yeah, I'm not entirely sure what's going to happen now. That's pretty much bad times, because...
Well, we'll see what happens.
Yeah. So yeah, with that, it's basically the end of the Skaven Go.
Okay, it's end of Beastmen turn 3, and it's it's really going now. So I charged the Bestigor into his flank. A charge that even Sly predicted was going to happen. You know, it's like just the ideal opportunity to take this unit out. Obviously they are unbreakable. I didn't want to give them extra combat res by sending these in the front, so I just moved them up to make it much harder for him to reform, although it's not necessarily in his best interests. Certainly not now. If he could reform in a horde formation, probably be good, but as he can only reform in a bus formation, then I'll just make it easier to kill the furnace, which is what he doesn't want. So that was it for charges. I moved these guys up for when these do come back on. They'll have to charge those in the following turn. So that's going to keep them out of the game. They've got some Brayshow and backups as more chaff. The Gorgon obviously hasn't been involved in any combat yet, so he still isn't frenzied. So, not that he had to make a frenzy test anyway, he wasn't facing anything. But he's just legged it around the building to stop being shot by this little guy. He's not afraid of that at all, it's just the guy with the machine gun. So that was that. These guys just sort of, you know, just stood there really. I was going to shoot his Grace here, but well, that was an afterthought, but unfortunately they're out of range. These guys failed a swift reform, so they just moved up very slowly behind these guys. Potentially a flank charge next turn, who knows. But that was it. Confident those aren't going to rally, so I didn't go after them. And that was pretty much it. So then in the magic phase, I got off Whiston's Wild Form on these guys. I then cast Curse of Anra here, got it off irresistibly. I managed to do a wound to all my wizards. But only drained 1 dice, and I still had quite a few left. So I used those to cast some miasmas and side spelled them. So that was it for my magic phase. And then in close combat, came in, he managed to kill 1 of my Bestigor, obviously toughness 5, and then in return I killed 11 Plague Monks. He hasn't taken them off, because him ranking up this unit it's bad times. So we've just put some dice down. Yeah. So that's that. So I've won the combat, and it's looking pretty solid now. Obviously the Hell Pit's an unknown entity, I don't really know what's going on there. But other than that, I'm pretty happy. So yeah, so it's into my turn 3, heading into Skaven turn 4.
Right, it's the end of turn 4. Things went bad to worse. Everything that's fleeing is off the table. Help It just basically wobbed on its arse. Didn't go anywhere. I rolled 7. They're chaffed to hell, so they're basically out of the game. And I lost more Plague Monks and did nothing. So now I'm basically set up for the end, and I'm not allowed to quit. So, it'll be right. We'll have to see. But yes, things are bad, so we shall see what happens next time.
Okay, so it's the end of Beastmen turn 4. Under duress, so I decided to go another turn. It's only for more your benefit to see what happened in the end of the battle. It was pretty clear that so I was not going to pull it back, just due to circumstances. But this is what happened. So I charged the Minotaurs in, and obviously the Bestigor was still in combat. I decided not to charge these in. I was tempted to cast a Transformation of Kadan on the Wizard, but I know it would end badly and I'd probably lose the game somehow. So I decided not to take that risk. Been doing a lot of crazy risks lately and it's not been paying off, so decided to play it safe this time. What else happened? Yeah, so that was that. And that was pretty much it, actually. So then, obviously I've got these guys stitched up, because when they do actually have a turn, they'll charge those, overrun, and then I'll just put another thing in front of them and just keep doing that. So they'll be staying out of the game. These guys stay with the word, didn't need them. The Gorgon stayed behind the building, safe from that machine gun. That was pretty much it. And then in the magic phase, I managed to get off a Whiston's Wild Form on the Minotaurs, so they're killing plague monks on 2s instead of 3s. Then I got off a Melkos Mystifying Miasma, reducing his movement by 2 its d6, so it only has d6 movement now, so I won't be getting into the Bestigors this turn, or in size turn, which we're obviously not having, but it wasn't going to help out. And of course when these moved in, they moved that a little bit further, making it even harder for him, well in fact impossible, you can't actually make it in on 1d6. So that was that, and then in the close combat between the Bestigor and the... Well, he actually issued a challenge with his Plague Monk, which I happily accepted with my Doom Ball, and slaughtered him before he even got to lift his flail. And then the other guys just slaughtered the rest of the Plague Monks. Obviously, couldn't attack the furnace this time because it was out of contact. So they're easily going to chop that up next turn. So that would be dead, and that would be all those points for me. Yeah, so really, obviously, Sire's giving it up now, which is fair enough. Because I don't think there's any way you can come back from this. Well, there's definitely no way you can come back from this. In fact, a very enjoyable game because I know we had their game against the High Elves a few weeks ago, but I'm still convinced I shouldn't have actually won that because I think we were playing the 40k rules. We kind of mixed up the rules for reactions, so I could have actually fled with his white lines in that game, so I didn't really count it as a win, although in the video I won, but it's because of a rules discrepancy that we just overlooked. So as far as I'm concerned, this is the first win with the Beastmen, and it was a pretty good win actually. Obviously I sold my horde dearly, but in the end their sacrifice really got the game in my favour, because if I was dealing with these guys it just would have been a horror show, because these guys were going to chop through everything I had. It was only really that horde that had a chance. So their sacrifice allowed me to take the victory. As far as the plan went pretty well really. It was obviously quite an aggressive game, neither of us having artillery. Obviously I can't, and so I consciously decided not to because of the stress it causes them. So it got down to brass tacks pretty quick. So it was basically resulted in punch up, and my guys were punching slightly harder than Size. Well, except in this case, this unit is horrendous. I certainly don't want to fight it without loads of debuffs on it, which unfortunately I wasn't getting. But ultimately, the magic phases were just excellent. The 4 wizards around the Herdstone really give you an advantage. And Size magic would let him down on his short range, so that wasn't helping him. He really needs to whittle these units down, which of course he couldn't do because he was out of range, mainly because that Gorgon moved up and was scaring his Grey Seer into not coming out of the building. So the Gorgon played his part, even though he didn't actually get into any combat. And he managed to survive the game for once, even though he's only got 1 wound and it's only toughness 5. But I'll take that. The wizards are obviously performing really well just by standing there, but all the spam of Melkos, Mystify Miasma and Whiston's Wildform carried the day. The Amber was quite handy, did some wounds to Doomwell. These guys didn't really do anything, but they were just serving as a bunker. I was hoping to get transformation of Kadan off with this guy, just to add some hitting power. But like I said, in the end I decided not to risk it. The Minotaurs obviously killed the Doomwheel and then killed the Giant Rats, which of course then we found out the slight flaw in the Giant Rat thing, which I'm sure Si will discuss at great length. So a little disappointing for him, because he did spend, well, I say a long time in it, pretty short time, because he paints like a demon. So, and these Besticor obviously, they did excellent. I mean, they killed the slaves just at the right time to charge on that flank, and thus pin them in place, allowing me to get the Minotaurs in later, and just chop that unit up. So yeah, that was just an excellent move. So really, the Harpies provided some really handy redirection there. But yeah, I think on the whole everything pretty much performed pretty well. Obviously the failed charge here with the Minotaurs has really hurt me, because I didn't want to charge the Doomwell. I wanted to charge the Doombull out and into this flank of these guys and just hold them up that way, which would have been great. But as it worked out, it kind of paid off in the end. Just the Minotaurs smashed everything they came across, and yeah, they did really well. So I think the match up against these guys was horrendous. Obviously, I had the power dice to get the debuffs, but Si had some awesome dispelling. So I was never going to win that fight with the few debuffs, the buffs I got, which was just a Whiston's Wildform. I really needed the Miasma, so I'd at least go first. So that was a shame. But like I said, in the end, their overrun is what got them off the board and allowed me to just redirect them for the rest of the game. So although I lost like 600 point horde, it led to my final victory. So, but yeah, certainly enjoyed the game. It's nice to play an army that doesn't really lend itself to my favoured tactic, which is just sitting back, pummeling him and then counter-charging. That's definitely my favoured tactic. But with this army I can't do that. Although there was one turn where I didn't actually move with much. It's because Psylite's coming at me. So, but at least he knew he wasn't going to get shot up on the way. So he knew that those fights were going to be in his favour. So, which they turned out to be, other than my magic, which was debuffing him. So yeah, so it worked really well, and I'm very happy with the win. I think it was a good game. Wasn't as stressful as perhaps I won last week, so at least for me. Although I think, other than Si's disgust at the whole Giant Rat thing, which we really need to look up. Maybe it's not as bad as it looks. But like I say, Si's going to discuss that, so I'm not going to go into it. But yeah, so that's it. I shall hand you over to Si, see what he thought of the game.
Yeah, it was. That was a good game. Like Ollie says, pretty much other than the Giant Rats being absolutely terrible, there wasn't much wrong. I was a little bit disappointed. I overran a bit too far off of there, and then just got chaffed up at the end. I really could have done with chasing them down and being able to reform to be able to get in, because a rear charge on that unit while the Minotaurs were still getting in would have been awesome, because I then would have been pretty confident at wiping out that unit, and then being able to charge in with Plague Banner blaring and actually do some damage. My magic really let me down. I don't think magic played any part in my army whatsoever, which was exceptionally disappointing. I always struggle with Skaven because the spells are really bad ranged, and also we kind of struggled with shoehorning them into like the 8th edition categories, which you're supposed to try and do. Unfortunately, pretty much every Skaven spell that matters tends to violate each of the different set. So yeah, it's a bit of a toughie, but the plague monks really were the sort of defining thing. It was the harpies, the flying chaff, that really kind of really made it. If I thought about it, what I probably should have done was used the, well, actually I couldn't have done that anyway, but I could have reformed and then actually used the breath weapon, sorry, the template from the wrecker ball to actually try and kill off the harpies. That would have been quite nice. It's only toughness 3. If I'd been able to rearrange the unit well enough, then that meant I would have been facing off against either 2, which meant that I would have had obviously a much better chance of actually doing anything.
Plus, the harpies are very low leadership. My general's over there at the time, so you could have, just by killing 2, you could have panicked them. Yeah,
that's it. I think the poor deployment, which led to the Hell Pit being at the back for 2 turns, also really hurt me. I think that was probably the...
So all he did was like kill 10 slaves.
Yeah, but that's basically all he did was he killed my stuff. I couldn't really get him anywhere where he was needed. That was one of the problems, that I took a very large surface area army. Like for example, the slaves. I mean, really, if I thought about it, I could probably have done with them being 100 strong, because they just evaporated ridiculously quick.
Yeah, plus I wasn't even in a horde formation, was I? It was just like I had 13 attacks per turn.
Yeah, it's that primal fury that really does it. That really kind of, plus losing 10 slaves to the Hell Pit.
Yeah,
it took away like 2 ranks as well.
Yeah, they went down pretty quick, didn't they?
Because I would have been steadfast again, and with the general's leadership. Although the general was off the board at the time, so that was my big problem, because I needed Queek there to bestow the leadership 10 to the slaves, or even a base like leadership like 6 or 7. Oh, sorry, 8 or 9, because he's leadership 8 base. I mean, he could have easily stepped up to give enough leadership to keep him in there, should they have been steadfast. So yeah, that was a little disappointing. And then basically with the plague monks getting attacked how they were, I knew it was over from the minute they got in the flank. I've seen that enough to know that once that happens, it's game over, because the plague monks will never be able to reform, because they'll never be able to put out enough damage to be able to reform on a good dice roll. So yeah, it's kind of one of those things where you just kind of, as soon as that happens, you just know it's game over, because they're unbreakable when they were frenzied. There's no way they could flee. Otherwise, normally I would have just fled. But yeah, then the Melkoffs on the Hell Pit as well didn't help, because then it was impossible for me to get it in any kind of place. So yeah, it was bad. I mean, I think it was mainly down to the fact that I was severely out deployed. Just by the sheer amount of chaff present in Ollie's army. I mean, I deployed my whole army before he'd even stopped deploying, before he'd finished deploying his chaff. So yeah, that was exceptionally telling. So yeah, I mean, I had all these. I have a large amount of army builds on my computer. Unfortunately, I need Army Builder to get at it. So I might actually consider resubscribing to that at some point, just to get Army Builder back. I might buy a printer, because my last printer's run out of ink, so it's cheaper to buy a new printer instead. Yeah, a bit disappointed I couldn't finish the Gorgon off. I almost got him. 1 wound left. He decided to park his great arse behind the building. And my little Skaven, who was here, had he reformed, he could have saved the day and dacked him, but alas, he was too busy rooking it. So this is what it is. The Quick Storm Vermin unit was excellent, and they buzzsawed through absolutely everything.
There's only the frenzy that hurt them in the end.
Yeah,
because knowing that I could just control them like that afterwards. Just kept them out of the game, didn't it?
Yeah.
But they just obliterated that unit.
Yeah, I mean...
I even had Wiston's Wild Form on, which is no joke. Toughness 5.
So yeah, toughness 5. So you can see, kind of, had you not had Wiston's, then yeah, you probably wouldn't have killed as many,
Oh no, definitely not.
and you would have lost more guys there. So, I mean, I was really pleased with how that unit performed. I think Queek is probably one of the few, well, it's probably the only Skaven character that a lot of armies should fear. Well, at least from
because he's
slightly
not
lowly
just a
scarred.
martial character, he's giving you an upgrade to a unit. And that unit is no joke.
And you kind of need that, because that's the only source of strength 5 that Skaven get. In fact,
Well, from Rat Ogres.
well, yeah.
Tell you, man, Rat Ogre Horde.
Yeah, I'm not that rich. Because, yeah, they're bloody expensive. And certainly a horde of giant rats is no way to go. And searching on eBay as well, I think everyone else has obviously clearly realised that. So I think the horde of giant rats must be a 7th edition thing. So, a bit disappointing. But I think I'll keep it, because it looks cool anyway. Plus, one day Skaven will get a new book and they might sort it out. Because there's actually no rules there's nothing in the rule book about mixed units. So I can only presume that if Skaven do get a new book, maybe, whoever writes it will fix it. We pray for Phil Kelly and not our spiritual liege. I've been reading a lot of D4chan. I spent, I think, 6 hours reading it last night, and my face still aches from the amount of laughing I did. But yes, we hope that. Although saying that, though, Jeremy Vitok, if he rewrote it as well, because he knows how to write a book or two, and yeah. Well, we'll just have to see how it goes. Or maybe Andy Chambers will come back, write the new book, and it will be the greatest book ever known in the entire universe. And his legendary beard of old will once again reign supreme at Games Workshop HQ. For those of you that don't remember Andy Chambers was the Horned Rat. He was awesome. Go and Google him. He's a legend. I remember him from back in the day when I was 14. Was the only guy I ever saw that took large units of troops back in the early 90s. When I used to play, I think the biggest unit I ever took was about 20 guys or 25. So because it looked nice and neat, and yeah, old Andy Chambers was showing us the way, taking hordes of Skaven even back then. They were still crap, but they were they were huge units. So yeah, it was good fun to dust Skaven off. They take quite a good bit of thinking through, and yeah, the sort of everything being toughness 4 as well is a little bit hurty with Skaven, because as soon as you start fighting regular amounts of elite stuff, they lose out, because they just don't have enough high strength attacks to really kind of to kind of do it. Where high elves have got plenty of opportunity to get their empire, ogres, everyone pretty much has got that ability, and because they're all base toughness 3 as well, that's pretty painful. But yeah, like he says, you can take a rat ogre horde, but it's stupidly expensive. And unless Squeal Nortooth is backing it up, it's pretty bad. Because it will go down exceptionally quick.
Well, at least for that, it'll be winning combat, so it won't matter so much about him dying.
Yeah, like I say, yeah. Well, that's kind of is it. Because if he dies, then that's not the end of the world.
Still have the region, won't they? So.
Yeah, they will, however, suffer bad with their leadership, because they are pretty terrible.
Yeah, but they need to get in combat and slaughter something to make sense.
Well, we'll see. But yeah, if I can afford the million rat ogres it's going to take to afford that, then, I've got 6.
No, you need 12 more.
Yeah, it's about 100 quid's worth of ogre.
Can you, with that one, instead of the handlers and everyone's going to give them leadership?
Yeah.
Does that count with a guard of Bonebreaker? Warlord of Bonebreaker?
No, because it has to be a packmaster. Because I believe there is a special rule that says that they can only claim their leadership from packmasters. So yeah, that's a little bit disappointing. Works a bit like the ogres. But yeah, really great game. It was good fun. No pain of using warp lightning cannons, as they surely would have made me die and cry in the corner through missing for having two, missing for 5 turns, and then the only turn of 1 hit, so I rolled a 2 and failed to wound.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it was flying up on the first turn.
Yeah, that's usually also bound to happen. But yeah, that was quite nice. So yeah, with that, we will see you next week. I might be looking to play some ogres, I think, next week. As I'm still painting up some ogres at the moment. So I might see if I can pick up some. Try and get some. I need basically 2 more Mournfang and 2 of the cannons, 2 Iron Blasters, and then I'll be laughing. Now, at some point, I want to try and get hold of a load of lead belchers. I'm going to see if I can make myself an ogre MSU style army. Nolly and I have to duke it out. Ogres versus wood elves. So yeah, till then, we will see you later.